Hey there, this is a weekly compilation video that combines a number of my shorter videos into one longer video. If there's one of the videos you're particularly interested in, there should be chapters on this video and in the pinned comment. Otherwise, grab a snack and have fun. Let's get this started. So, I've been talking about how the gaming industry will probably fail if they don't start to learn their lessons. Increasingly, it seems like the big players in the industry are moving towards a future where they expect gamers to pay $70 or more for a game that will be a buggy mess on the day it releases. Not to mention the rise in live service games, which are usually failures, so that the companies can try their best to milk us for our money. But I think we are starting to see a few signs that the financial hit caused by the failure of recent AAA games and the success of recent indie games like Palworld are finally starting to have an effect. You see, there's a new game coming out this week, and it appears that they've chosen to set their price low in order to compete with Palworld. The game in question is called Nightingale, and it's being made by a company called Inflection Games, the CEO of which is Aaron Flynn, who worked on the Mass Effect games. It's going to be a PvE survival crafting game, but with the twist that instead of staying on one map, you can explore different worlds, which the game calls realms, and you'll be able to go to by building portals. It's a decent concept that I think has potential, and the signs are there that the devs are receptive to the recent industry trends. You see, it's kind of a hard time to launch your survival crafting game, considering how many are on the market right now, let alone the massively successful Palworld and Enshrouded that just came out. I think maybe they'll get lucky and have timed this launch well to get some players who are starting to get tired of Palworld, but time will tell. You see, instead of charging $70 for the game, it's going to be priced at $30, going against the wider industry trend of trying to convince gamers to shell out $70 for new releases. $70, by the way, is enough money to completely fill the gas tank in my car more than once. Now, it might not be too surprising that the game is going to be priced so low, considering Inflection Games seems to be a small indie company and this appears to be their first major release. But what makes me hopeful for the wider industry is how open their CEO was about how they decided to price the game. He gave an interview to Games Radar where he said that he thinks that reasonable pricing is a major factor in whether or not gamers will take a chance on a new game. He said, "It's cool to see survival crafting having a moment. I think it's great," he says. And it's true. There might be short-term competition. There's only so many dollars to go around and somebody's got to say, I think I can afford one of these games, so I'll choose this one over that one. But I think long-term, it all nets out and everything's elevated. Then he went on to say, I think we feel good about what we're putting out there for $30. We know it's our first game from a new studio, and there's no reason for players to give us the benefit of the doubt. So the act of pricing a game that looks like it belongs in a higher price bracket at just $30 is going to really improve their chances of being adopted at launch. Now, he obviously is the CEO, so he's going to talk the game up. But what's important is that he believes the game is better than other games in the $30 price bracket, but is pricing it there anyway, so that it will have a better chance to compete with other relatively cheap survival crafting games like Palworld or Enshrouded. This is the invisible hand of the free market at play. Obviously, a business's entire point of existence is to make money, so there's no doubt in my mind that if they thought they could get away with it, they'd have priced the game higher. But the popularity of recent releases like Palworld seem to be causing the market to shift downward in price, which is a great thing, because let's be honest, nobody wants to drop $70 or more on a game. Though it remains to be seen if these effects will be felt outside of the survival crafting genre, we can be hopeful. Every time one of the AAA expensive live service games fails, we get a little closer. And given my recent look into Skull and Bones, a $70 pirate game coming out soon from Ubisoft that the CEO of Ubisoft called a quadruple A game, I think we're going to have at least one more high profile failure in the expensive game market this year. Check out my Skull and Bones video on screen in a few seconds if it's not already there. So what do you guys think? Is the fact that new survival crafting games are targeting low prices good for the industry? How many more high profile games will have to fail before the AAA companies realize that if they want to sell more, all they have to do is lower the price and put out a decent product? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching all the way till the end. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day and God bless you. Recently, I've been talking a lot about the future of games, a future that really only has two alternatives. Most AAA companies want that future to be a dystopian world where you pay for games that barely pass as finished, but never own them, only to be drip-fed more dopamine by way of microtransactions when things get boring. But on the other side, there are developers who understand the average gamer, mostly indie companies, but they know that people just want to pay for a game and enjoy their time playing it without constantly being bled of their own hard-earned money. One of the companies that has done a decent amount of work to give us good games without trying to separate us all from our money is Larian Studios, which is kind of on the cusp between being an indie company or a AAA company. Perhaps it's best described as a AA company, but I'm not sure. What I am sure about is that they're more than happy to ignore the industry titans and do their own thing. You'll know them because they made Baldurs Gate 3, one of the most impressive games to come out last year, selling a ton of copies and genuinely shocking the industry. You see, Baldurs Gate 3 is a good game. It's built on top of a solid world, it's got an impressively expansive plot, and it looks really nice to boot, but it also had something that not a lot of games have these days: a mostly bug-free launch. In fact, Baldurs Gate 3 was so bug-free that people working at big game companies, who often fail to deliver a complete game at launch, and games journalists tried to tell gamers that they shouldn't expect to see games so well polished, and attacked the game for raising the bar on what a game launch should look like, as delivering a complete game might be too much for most developers, and they didn't want that to become the expectation. Now, of course, just 10 years ago, it would have been unthinkable to sell the game and not have it at least mostly bug-free. No one would buy a game that was incomplete or full of bugs, but somewhere, probably because of the increasing ease of access to the internet and the popularity of updating games on release using the internet, game companies began to just ship us slop that was barely playable, with the excuse, oh, we'll just fix it later and update the game. That wouldn't have flown even a few years back, and I think we were finally lucky enough to see a developer push back on that culture within the industry. You see, Larian Studios was at the DICE Awards, winning a number of awards for Baldurs Gate 3, and used their time on the podium to push back on the current industry climate, the current rush to get things to market before they're ready, along with the increasing prevalence of predatory microtransactions and battle passes, all as one common cause: increasing shareholder value, which is what all public companies exist for, though that often leads to bad things for the company itself, forcing the companies to shove in-game purchases in our faces, raise game prices, and basically do anything they can to take our money, all for a tiny fraction more shareholder value. Basically, the industry has slowly gone down a bad path by chasing short-term gains while forsaking their customers in the long term. Larian Studios has largely rejected these industry norms, and in one of their speeches at the DICE Awards, Larian Studios' head of production, David Walgrave, used his time to attack this worldview that's infecting the gaming industry. He said, "We ask you to pay one price only for the game, and that's it. You can own it for the rest of your life. We don't have shareholders, but we also don't think about them. There's an expression in Dutch, honesty lasts longest, or something, and then we don't make decisions where we think this could make us the most money. In the long run, building a community, building a player base, building games that are actually fun is going to make you the most money. That's it." Which is well put and includes pretty direct digs at the current state of the market. Larian Studios gives me a little hope for the future of the gaming industry, because while other companies have forsaken the players to chase profits, Larian seems to be committed to providing high quality, entertaining, and most importantly, fun games, knowing that if you get a reputation for having good, fun games and for not nickel and diming your customer, then people will buy your games more than other companies. A strategy that has worked fairly well for them thus far, considering the success of Baldurs Gate 3. Hopefully, if they keep doing as well as they have been doing, we might see other games companies try to use their model, realizing that the real way to make money isn't to make bad games full of purchases that make the game easier, but rather start making good games people want to play and won't put the customer into bankruptcy. I sincerely hope that Larian Studios continues down this path. There are worrying signs though, because though David Walgrave said they don't have shareholders, that's not explicitly true. It appears that Tencent owns a decent amount of the company, though it also appears that those shares may be non-voting, so they might not have a direct way to alter the company. It's unclear. But what I do know is that I associate Tencent with all of the worst things in the gaming industry. Now, it might just be my red-blooded American instincts, but I really dislike hearing any company associated with the Chinese Communist Party is involved with anything I like. Communists have a way of ruining things that is unparalleled in human history. But like I said, so long as they're staying quiet, I'll remain hopeful for Larian Studios. What do you guys think? Are you glad to see Larian call out the bad industry practices? Do you think their practices will ever catch on with other game studios? Are you worried about their association with Tencent? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching all the way till the end. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day and God bless you. I make no secret that I think Twitch is having financial problems much worse than they make known to the public. Granted, I don't have any secret knowledge, but given the CEO recently told the public that Twitch was unprofitable in a live stream, not to mention how Twitch had to pull out of an entire country, South Korea, due to operating costs, and now they're increasing sub prices, you don't have to be a genius to put the pieces together. And yeah, I just said they're increasing sub prices. Granted, it's a bit more complicated than that, so let's take a look. Twitch put out a blog yesterday about their decision to increase sub prices, which is a big move. As far as I know, and actually confirmed in this blog, Twitch has never actually raised sub prices before. In fact, they lowered them in some places just a few years ago, which makes this a much bigger deal than it seems, in my opinion. I think that increasing sub prices is one of those things that they wouldn't do if they saw any alternative, given the number of people who may cancel their subscriptions when they see that the charge has increased. It's a major gamble for them to assume that the extra revenue brought in by the increased price will outweigh the losses caused by people canceling because the new price is too high for them, which is probably why they're only doing it in a few countries, ones that share similar demographics to the USA, but are probably less important to their bottom line. I suspect that this is a pilot program to see if raising prices in the USA will be viable, so you don't have to worry too much about the price increase yet, unless you're in the UK, Canada, Australia, or Turkey. Now, Twitch says these increases are to help streamer revenue keep pace with rising costs and reflect local currency fluctuations. And I believe them on that when it comes to Turkey, which is a very different country from the other three, and is also getting the biggest price increase, seeing the price go to literally just a bit more than quadruple what it was sitting at. Yeah, that's a lot more money. The other three countries, the UK, Canada, and Australia, are all seeing the prices increase by a lot less, with all of them going up just £1, Canadian dollar, or Australian dollar-y-do, respectively. Now, that doesn't seem like a big increase, but I think that the fact that they're willing to do it speaks volumes. Granted, they are taking the liberty to just automatically renew people's subscriptions at the new price, just sending them an email telling them, so they're probably expecting people not to notice. But it's a big risk for them. Now, they put a lot of fluffy words into the blog post about how this is to help streamers and make streaming more sustainable for them, only alluding to the increased cut they get to take briefly in the post. But given the basic knowledge that corporations as big as Twitch operate more for their own bottom line than for the increased good of others. After all, they seem to be trying hard to make Twitch profitable. I think this is just another data point that adds to the argument that something bad is going on behind the scenes at Twitch. I do think that most likely we will see the sub price increase in the United States at some point as well. As long as these increases don't end up being a massive financial mistake on their part, Twitch has a history of the consistent sub price. So it stands to reason that if they're willing to break that tradition, they may be willing to go further. My best guess is that at some point in the future, maybe as soon as May, maybe as far away as next year, they're going to get rid of Twitch Prime, or at least take away the free subscription. Twitch loses a ton of money paying out streamers for subs that Twitch gets no money for, since the Twitch Prime sub is free to users with an Amazon Prime account. So it stands to reason that if they're willing to change the prices, they may end up having to remove that. But that's just a theory. A Twitch theory. What do you guys think? Do you agree with my suspicion that increasing prices in the UK, Australia, and Canada is probably a trial run for doing so in the United States? Are you worried about Twitch's future? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching all the way till the end. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and God bless you. A former Family Channel YouTuber has just been sentenced to 60 years in prison. Well, technically she'll be let out after 30 years, but that's still quite a long time. Franke used to showcase her family on the YouTube channel called 8 Passengers, which was a typical family vlogging channel that made content around her 6 children, Ruby and her husband. Disturbingly, viewers had noticed in the videos that a few of the punishments she issued to her children were a bit extreme. It turns out those viewers would be unfortunately proven correct when Ruby was eventually arrested on 6 counts of second-degree aggravated child abuse, which was lowered to 4 counts in a plea deal. There's a lot to cover, so let's jump right in. I think that most casual observers feel that there is something weird with YouTube family channels. There is something so unsettling about a family filming their daily lives and forcing their kids into the spotlight for YouTube clout and money. Still, that's not to say that every family channel is as bad as 8 Passengers, but just as a baseline, know that people kind of find this content creepy. At the time, I'd seen a few videos being made about the 8 Passengers family, mostly covering how people were concerned that there could be something dark going on behind the scenes, since the punishments they would give their kids seemed to be a bit more than just old-fashioned. One particular instance I remember people being worried about was that they apparently took away their child's bedroom for 6 months as a punishment. At the time though, I think most people just assumed that it was something being played up for the camera, despite the insistence of a vocal portion of the community. Usually, the most vocal side of any community is wrong, but in this case, they didn't know how right they were. One day, a neighbor opened their door to find an obvious obviously malnourished child standing at their door looking for help. He was covered in open wounds and duct tape. The neighbors were obviously horrified at the sight and called the police, who then searched the house the child came from and found another minor in similar conditions. Now, it's hard to understate the horror of what happened here. This is one of those cases where just from the text description of events, you know that the person who committed these crimes has lost their connection to their humanity. It's hard to describe, but sometimes when you see someone, you can just tell. You look into their eyes and nothing looks back. It's like looking into an endless abyss. Ruby Franke is obviously one of these people. There is not a pit in hell hot enough to burn away the sin of what she has been found guilty of. She took a plea deal, obviously, because given the state that the children were in, I don't think that she had a chance at coming away innocent. The plea deal dropped 2 of the charges against her, finding her guilty of 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. I can't imagine that in women's jail, they look highly on people with those kinds of charges, and I guess she will find out. The judge sentenced Ruby and her friend, who was also possibly a business partner, Jody Hildebrandt, to 4 terms of 1 to 15 years in jail each, which gives them each a potential 60 years in prison. Unfortunately, there is a law in Utah that forbids consecutive sentences that last over 30 years combined, meaning that the most Ruby will serve is 30 years. What I found really disturbing was her comments at the sentencing. She said, "I am humbled and willing to serve a prison sentence for as long as I need, and I am committed to unlearning my toxic behavior." I cannot believe that when facing a potential 30 years in jail, someone would refer to their heinous crimes as toxic behavior. That's influencer speak. It's like she thinks that she just got caught stealing tweets or something. There is something deeply disturbed in this woman, I think, and I think it's clearly a good thing that she will be away from the public for 30 years. If anything, it's unfortunate that it's not longer. There's no remorse in that statement. It strikes me that she might think she didn't do anything all that bad. There's no other reason I can think to use the term toxic behavior. Even if you were trying to fake being remorseful, you'd say something a bit stronger. She then had the stones to say that despite downplaying it as toxic behavior, the charges are just, and that she was remorseful for twisting God's words and distorting his doctrine, which I don't even know where to start on that. She didn't twist God's words. She ignored them. She didn't distort his doctrine, she inverted it. The only good thing about this statement is that it means that she acknowledges that God exists. Thus, she will spend her sentence, no, the rest of her life, in worry for how God will judge her. So, in conclusion, I'm glad to see that this person will be in jail. It's cases like this that make me think that the general trend towards lighter sentences is a bad thing. What do you guys think? Is 30 years enough? Would 60 years be enough? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching all the way till the end. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and God bless you. So, Adin Ross is known for getting himself into hot water, but today we're going to take a quick look at the dumbest thing I've ever seen him involved in, and to be fair to him, it's not his fault. You see, Adin was doing a stream on Kick, where they were shooting guns. Now I know, Adin Ross is the last person I'd want holding any object that can cause serious bodily harm, but like I said, it wasn't him this time. One of the guys he was with decided to pull a prank on Adin, and blind fire into the ground right next to him. Watch.
Where? Oh my God! What the hell was that? Who shot it? Cheeser!
Yo, y'all living the life, bro. What the fuck?
Oh, okay.
Now luckily, no one was harmed there. The guy missed, but that is one of the stupidest things I have ever seen anyone do with a firearm, and I've seen some dumb stuff. The guy didn't even look down to see if he would hit Adin's feet before he pulled the trigger. By sheer luck he didn't, but I can't overstate how easily that could have gone very bad. Now there are people saying that this must have been a blank, so it would have been perfectly safe, but if that's you, then you don't know how a blank works. At that distance, a blank could easily cause harm, maybe not as much as an actual payload, but enough that Adin might end up not walking for a while. Not to mention, the guy that shot did so with no warning to anyone else. Do you know how loud a gunshot is in person? Because it's really, really loud. There's a reason you always see people wearing those goofy looking headphones when they go range shooting. It's because you can easily cause hearing damage from being close to a fired gun. Every single thing about this was incredibly dangerous, and importantly, sets a very poor precedent for Adin's young fans. I mean, imagine some kid decides to replicate this as a prank on one of his friends because he saw it on an Adin Ross stream. That could go so wrong. And I mean, I know it's an Adin Ross stream. I shouldn't expect much. But man, he's like a magnet for the dumbest stuff imaginable. Guns are not toys. They shouldn't be treated like them. What do you guys think about this? Do you think that Kick should even allow streams with guns? Given if Adin's foot had been a few inches closer, a lot of people would have seen him get hit on live stream with no warning. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Short video today because my allergies have been acting up and my sinuses are not doing so great, but I'll manage. Have a great day and God bless you.